Good evening, Vikings fans. This is your boy Justin in Rochester on Purple and Gold for Days. We coming up on week 9. First game kicks off in just a little bit, and it's going to be a barn burner. Yeah, probably not. Houston's only the worst team in the world. Doesn't have their best wide receiver because, well, he's pouting because he didn't get traded. Oh, sure, he's going on about how, well, he's a little hurt and whatever else. I don't know that I'm buying that, and frankly, I'm a little glad we didn't get that guy. But having said all that, 12-3 last week. Thanks a lot, Raiders, for letting me down, Jaguars for letting me down, and, oh yeah, Bungles for letting me down. But hey, what can you do? Let's just get started right off the bat. So tonight, we've got the Houston Texans going into Philly. Let's just get this one out the way. They got no shot. Absolutely no shot whatsoever. Philadelphia coming off their bye week, well rested. Probably one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the NFL. Houston, one of the 2 or 3 worst. I don't think this is going to be much of a contest, but hey, I was only 12-3. Moving on, we've got the Atlanta Falcons, the first place Atlanta Falcons in the absolutely dreadful NFC South, hosting the San Diego Superchargers. Yes, I know they're LA, but I'm going to call them San Diego once or twice, so I might as well just get it out the way. Listen, Atlanta can afford to lose this game because they're in an awful division, and they only have to contend really with the over-the-hill Tom Brady in their division. San Diego Superchargers. Okay, last time, I swear. The Los Angeles Chargers, they really need this game. They're only a game behind Kansas City, but realistically, they are fighting for a wild card spot. West Coast team traveling east. I'm taking the San Diego Chargers. I swear that's the last time. Really, I do. But in all seriousness, I went back and forth on this game. I thought about giving it to Atlanta with home field advantage, but seriously, the Chargers need this game just slightly more. Atlanta could lose 4 more games and probably still win their division. So let's move on. Another barn-burning, exciting game. The bear down Chicago Bears. Boo. You got 100 put on you last week. I see that the Miami Dolphins are probably going to say, hey, we need to keep pace with the Buffalo Bills. They're only going to lose 1 more game this year, next week to the Vikings. Okay, that's a little optimistic on my part, but hey, we can just pretend for right now that we got a shot in that game to at least make it competitive. Oh, no, wait. We have more than a shot because we got a new guy, tight end. That's the one position we didn't have really locked down offensively. But sticking with this game, Miami, I think, is going to win by at least 10 points. I know it's on the road, but Tua Tagovailoa is going to show Justin Fields, you're not quite there yet. Let's move on. This was almost the stinker of the week, but we still have to give some love to the Cincinnati Bengals, being that they were in the Super Bowl last year, but it is the week of the cat in this matchup. Listen, Carolina, I don't know how you kicked away that game last week against Atlanta. I was at the Vikings game, so I didn't see it live, but I did watch it on replay and saw some of the highlights. My goodness, you deserve to lose that game for that kind of performance. Cincinnati's going to be, yes, I know they're injured a little bit, and, they just got embarrassed. I know it's a short week for them, but at home, I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals to win this matchup. This is not 10, 15 years ago. Peyton Manning's not walking through that door. Tom Brady's not walking through that door. And to quote Rick Pitino, if they did, they'd be old and decrepit. Listen, it's still Bill Belichick, and it's at home. The Patriots have been up and down. The Colts are just absolutely thoroughly mediocre. I'm sorry. The Colts are just going to get destroyed in this game. New England Patriots win this game by at least 10 points. A couple of weeks ago, this looked like it would be a halfway decent matchup, and it still could be, but the New York Jets last week found out what it really is to be an upstart team that, wins a lot of games. And once again, we thank you kindly for defeating the Green Bay Packers before you lost half of your starting offensive players. Buffalo, I know I said that they would destroy Green Bay last week, and let's be blunt, they just took their foot off the gas. They could have beaten the Packers more handily if they wanted to. I think they're going to go into New York, continue their winning streak, and the Buffalo Bills are going to win that game, letting the New York Jets know that, hey, it was a cute little upstart that you guys had. You guys are a cute little club, but you're not quite there yet. Now to the real stinker of the week. 2 teams coming off losses to teams that really aren't even that good. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Listen, I got to put this game into the pick segment because it's on the schedule, and that's really the only reason it's here, and because I had to give a stinker to somebody. So I'm going to do that every week. One game a week is going to have the stinkers emoji on there for the worst game of the week. I don't even know who to pick in this game. I'm going to give it to Jacksonville simply because they're at home, but both teams are awful. Hopefully Trevor Lawrence can figure something out. He's looking a little bit better now that he's under the thumb of Urban Meyer and whatnot, but I got the Jaguars here. If they lose again, I'm not picking them the rest of the year. That having been said, a halfway decent matchup out in the NFC West, we have the Seattle Sea Chickens and the Arizona Cardinals. Listen, this is Arizona's last stand, okay? They lose this game, Cliff Kingsbury, pert near might get fired. And I'm not joking, because I'm surprised he didn't get fired after the Vikings beat them last week. This team has got talent on it. DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray. I know Kyler Murray's inconsistent, and, please don't go with that video game joke anymore for the rest of the season, please, ladies and gentlemen. But jokes aside, Seattle hosted a good New York Giants team, came out with the victory, and they right now are sitting on top of this division. I still have San Francisco winning this division, but I think Seattle's going to give them a run for the money. This is where Cliff Kingsbury run as the Arizona Cardinals head coach officially ends. Seattle wins this game on the road to take firm control of that division. In a rematch of the divisional round of the playoffs from last year, you have two teams that just, I don't know what's going on with them. They're old. They just don't got it anymore. Listen, they played an outstanding divisional round of the playoffs game last season that was overshadowed by the fact that Buffalo and Kansas City had a game for the ages. In fact, it was a pretty decent weekend. If I recall correctly, I was at a Minnesota Wild game with my girlfriend. I think another game that week was a 13-10 final score of the San Francisco 49ers beating some team to the east. It's funny because, side note, that game was against the Chicago Blackhawks. In Minnesota and Chicago in hockey, they don't like each other every bit as, Vikings fans and Packer fans don't. So it was a nice little rivalry game. There was a halfway decent amount of Blackhawks fans in the arena that night. And it was loud when the Blackhawks scored, a little louder for my liking for a visiting team. And it was loud when the Wild scored. But when the announcer came on and said that the Packers had lost, we kind of forgot that we had our biggest hockey rivals in-house. And we all high-fived and shook hands and said, hey, the Packers lost in the playoffs again. Having said all that, a rematch of a game that also happened this weekend, you got two teams below 500. Tampa Bay, I understand their quarterback is on his last leg and that he's got some off-the-field distractions, but this team's pretty much stole an opportunity for the Atlanta Falcons to beat them. And if that was the case, we might actually take Atlanta a little bit more seriously. Matt Stafford just looks like, okay, I got what I came for and I'm done. So having said all that, I'm going to give the slight edge of the home team in Tampa Bay here, but realistically, this is a game between two teams that have vastly disappointed this season. Kansas City hosts Tennessee. Listen, Tennessee is kind of a version of the Vikings. They're a good team that might be great, that have had some opportunities to go their way this year, and they're playing in an awful division. Kansas City, on the other hand, as I said, is only one game ahead of the Los Angeles Chargers. So having said all that, these are two teams that I anticipate will be making the playoffs. They might see each other again in the playoffs as well. But as far as this game goes this weekend, Kansas City knows that if they're going to have any shot of getting that number one seed in the AFC, they absolutely need this game. I think Tennessee will hang with them for a little bit, but at the end of it, I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning this matchup here. Monday Night Football. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because we got the main events coming up here shortly. As you all know, I always say for the last two for this team and that team. I think you can guess who they are. But in all seriousness, Lamar Jackson's going to run all over these guys. New Orleans, it was a cute little victory against the absolutely putrid Las Vegas Raiders last week. The Ravens are coming off of their mini-bye because they played a week ago from tonight. The Ravens are going to win this matchup, no problem. Now, we're going to get on to the main event here. I was really torn about this. Both of these teams are terrible. We expected the Lions to be terrible, and we were hoping the Packers were going to be terrible. As it turns out, both things were the case. Now, having said all that, as much as I really want to say that the roar has been restored, they just traded their best player to us. So, as much as the Green Bay Packers look completely lost and discombobulated, and Aaron Rodgers is crying and whining and going on interviews talking about how people don't know what's going on here and Mike Florio doesn't know what he's talking about. Generally speaking, I would agree with that statement. But in this case, yeah, he does know what he's talking about, Packers. Rodgers, your team sucks. You're a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time. But it's being shown here right now that you're past the point where you can elevate a mediocre team to being a good team. Your defense is mediocre. You've got a lot of decent players on defense. Jair Alexander, Ken Clark to be specific. But you got to do better than what you've been doing if you're going to have anything on this. As much as I really want this game to go the other way, unfortunately, I do have the Green Bay Packers winning this one. Now to the main event. Our Minnesota Vikings, 6-1. Very few people saw that. Washington, cute little club. Again, we thank you kindly for your services for going into Green Bay, or beating Green Bay, excuse me. But at the end of the day, for me, I don't think that this game is going to be particularly close. I'm not saying the Vikings are going to blow them out by 3 touchdowns because that's not what the Vikings do. But I think this might be finally the week where the Vikings actually have a game in control and win comfortably. I say that because of this. Kirk Cousins has faced Washington since he's been our quarterback, but he's never faced them in Washington. I have the sneaking suspicion that this is finally the week, after saying it for about a half dozen weeks, that Kirk Cousins finally has his statistically magical game, that he takes control of this team. I don't think he's going to go quite as far as Patrick Peterson, and if Dalvin Cook busts off a long run where he's going to start doing his version of the gritty while the play is still going on. But I do see Kirk Cousins with some pimped up emotions here, and I do see him leading the Vikings to a comfortable 10 to 14 point win. And I'm going to make sure I actually hit the slide this time. See, I forgot about that last week. Yes, Vikings going to win this game. Vikings are going to go to 7-1. We're going to meet Buffalo in a showdown. I'm not going to say it's a Super Bowl preview, although I would love for that to happen. Somebody says to me the other day, why would you want to face Buffalo in the Super Bowl? Because it's the Vikings and their curse and Buffalo's curse. Maybe we can finally get a Super Bowl if we face a team that's got a bigger curse than we do. But I digress. We'll talk more about that next week. But I'm going to say this for right now. I was going to do a power rankings, but I'm just going to make this quick here. There's 4 kinds of teams. There's the Super Bowl contenders, the solid playoff teams, the wannabes that are sort of got a playoff shot, and then there's the teams that are garbage. I'm not even going to bother with the teams that are garbage. I'm just going to go top down. And yes, right now, the Vikings are one of the 6 teams that are Super Bowl contenders. We talked about the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs. I got them at number 4. I've gone back and forth where to put Dallas and the Vikings. I really would say that Vikings and Dallas are kind of pretty much tied because we just saw Dallas hang half 100 on Detroit while we kind of struggled with them. But having said all that, Dallas's defense has been more stout this year and a little bit more consistent. But I will say this. We're going to find out the answer to that in a couple of weeks here when the Cowboys come to town a few days before the United States Thanksgiving. And I'm going to say it like this. It's going to make everybody stop for a minute. I'm glad it's the 3:25 game, that it's not the Sunday night or Monday night game, but I'm also glad it's not the noon game because I want the world to see Kirk Cousins, this Vikings offense, his new toy in TJ Hawkinson, and I want to see them steamroll the Cowboys, and I want everybody to see it and not just have to say, oh, I wonder how Kirk played at noon today. I got the Ravens solidly at number 6. I still got them. I decided to have them slightly ahead of Cincinnati because right now Cincinnati, while they still have the credibility for getting to the Super Bowl last year, I still have them in the solid. I have the Ravens in the Super Bowl contenders. Now, solid playoff teams, again, it doesn't take a genius to figure much of this out. San Francisco, Miami, Seattle, New York, and Tennessee. Right now, I'd be shocked if any of those teams are not in the playoffs. So that leaves us with, what do we call them? We call them pretenders. I have Tampa Bay and Atlanta at the top of the pretenders list. One, because it's still Tom Brady, and maybe he'll actually figure out one of these days. I don't know. But Atlanta has a path to get to the 4 seed in the NFC simply because their division is such garbage. Now, the rest of the teams in there, they're all fighting for wild card spots. The Jets are not going to overtake the Bills. The Chargers are not going to overtake the Chiefs. The Rams and the Cardinals, they're just hanging on for dear life, as is our dear neighborly friends that we love to hate in the East. I'm going to say it like this. A handful of these teams, a couple of these teams are going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to do anything. They don't scare anybody. No, they're not going to be the proverbial, oh, they're the team that got hot and that team that no one wants to play. Everybody wants to play these teams first round in the playoffs because everybody else on that first page would walk over any one of these teams. So for right now, I'm going to have one more short drop before the start of the Vikings game this Sunday. I'm telling you right now, this is one of those games where we're finally going to be comfortable. We're not going to blow them out, but we're going to be comfortable. We're not going to be sitting on the edge of our seats. We're not going to wonder, is the offense going to get one more first down to close out this game? Is the defense going to be able to get that one more stop? Taylor Heineke, okay, you're a nice little story, but you're not Kirk Cousins. And even though some people want to say that I'm one of the biggest Kirk Cousins haters in the world, which I'm not. I know about 100 more people that hate him more than I do. But having said that, Taylor Heineke, you might have had a shot to be the Vikings quarterback in 2016 when Teddy got hurt. Had you not hurt yourself, well, you blew it. Sorry, buddy. Kirk Cousins is going to show you that there's a reason that the Vikings took him. And he's also going to show Washington that they were wrong for letting him go. Thanks again for joining me here on the Purple and Gold for Days. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Rap, thanks for tapping in. I appreciate you. I saw you earlier, but I was butter. I was on a roll. But thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, and everybody else who did here as well. Leave your comments in there. Tell me where you think I'm right. Tell me where you think I'm wrong. Tell me where you think I'm just flat out on something, whatever the case may be. Tell me where my rankings are right. Tell me where they're wrong. Yes, I know. I don't have the Vikings at number 1, so I know I'm wrong there. But jokes aside, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Let them know that Justin in Rochester's got his own page, Purple and Gold for Days. Thank you kindly for joining me. Y'all have a great rest of your evening. And as always, Vikings just once before we die is all we're asking. Thanks again. Good night.